It is about what they have done overall for the sport. So, and I'll correct Larry once again, we're actually inducting one for 2020. Since 2020 didn't happen, it's still there for us for our Hall of Fame. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dana Snow. Come on up. And you'll get to go front and center. So Dana Snow, no, up front. Dana Snow is our inductee for 2020. She started powerlifting in 1997 doing push-pulls and then started benching in 2003. And we ask them a series of questions as they're getting inducted so that we're able to share a little bit of what they've done. We ask about her background, and as a young teenager, she said she's always been into weights and even gave bodybuilding a try. I actually remember her in her bodybuilding days. And then also did rugby in college. And how did she get into powerlifting? This is kind of interesting because we all come from different walks of life, different scenarios that most people would think would stop them from doing a sport like weightlifting. And hers was a neck fusion, and had a friend that suggested that she try bench pressing shortly after her neck fusion, and then she got hooked into powerlifting, and here she is today. Yeah, injury induction is what they're saying behind me. First meet experience. She did a non-sanctioned bench press competition, and the kicker on that, there were two females. For those behind me who have been in the sport the longest, and Sue Elwin here, what was your first year? 1976 was your first year of powerlifting, so she's been out there a long time too, where she actually competed in the men's division because there were no female divisions. So when Dana did her first meet, there were only 2 women that were competing. When we come to nationals, 50% of the competitors at nationals are women, thanks to these ladies helping build the sport and building up women's powerlifting. Her best meet was in Estonia in 2016 with 390 kilos. And we talk about her accomplishments, which are, she is the current Washington State Chair. She's served multiple terms as a state chair. She has stepped up as a national referee. She is a meet director, and what she didn't put on here is she was also the co-meet director to nationals in 2018. She's also the chair of chair committee chair. She holds multiple state records and also is a 9-time national team member, medaling in 8 of the 9 national teams that she represented the U.S. for. Her highlights are her first women's nationals. She competed, I'm losing some of my place, sorry about that. And her highlights basically are meeting the fabulous people all over the country, one of them being Isabel, who couldn't be with us today, but she is watching us on the live stream. So as you all know, we travel the world, we travel to meets, we make our best friends through those meets and lifelong bonds. When asked the question, who influenced you the most in powerlifting, she couldn't really name one specific person or a group of people, but it's pretty much everybody that she's met along the way that has influenced and shaped who Dana is and what Dana has done to give back to the sport. Back to the contributions of powerlifting, and again, Women's Hall of Fame. This is the big kicker that really sets these women apart from the average lifter that's out there participating in powerlifting. So again, she is a national referee. She is a meet director, not only at the local level, but at the national level. She's a state chair. She is committee chair of chairs. And she is out there empowering other women to get involved in the sport of powerlifting. One thing that she didn't put on her questionnaire was she kicked off the Lady of Iron meet that we saw 2 years ago. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Throughout the country. So I believe it was like May 4th or around that time. There were a handful of meets throughout all the states in the U.S. with the same name, all of women competing, which built up the sport, again, for women's powerlifting. She also does women's coaching, and she also does clinics for women. And as another question is, as your name goes down in history, what does she want to be remembered the most for? Being friendly and supportive, teammate, an ambassador for our sport for the young, the old, and everyone in between. And the last question is, what words of wisdom would you like to pass down to the future female powerlifters? I'm going to read this word for word. Start now, no matter what your level is. Do not worry what other people say or think about your involvements. Do this sport for you, and don't let other people's insecurities influence your decision to be involved. Powerlifting can be a life-changing sport, and you will find support within the community. Let's give a hand for Dana Snow. You guys have the plaques? Oh, you got it? You have the plaque? Oh, awesome. Do you want to read that to her?
All right, I am super proud to present to Dana the USA Powerlifting Women's Hall of Fame, inducted in 2020 to Dana Snow, in recognition for your achievement as a powerlifter and as a pioneer in paving the path for future women powerlifters. Thank you.
And with that, we have sponsors that help present stuff. Every year, the women get a special customized Hall of Fame belt. This one is from Titan Support System, presented by Sue.
I am hoping that this beautiful new belt will motivate Dana to get back on the lifting platform.
And they also get a Hall of Fame jacket, sponsored by Kathy Marksteiner. Let's give another applause for Dana Snow. Thank you. And you can step here. And now we're going to move on to our 2021 induction. And with that, Kathy Marksteiner is going to go ahead and introduce.
I've known this young lady for a number of years, so when she was nominated and she was selected, I jumped at the opportunity to do the interview. Gaudreau, Jennifer Ray, J. Ray, as I originally met her, is from Louisiana specifically. And so one of the questions we ask is, how did you get started? And she had wanted to go and she wanted to lift, and her mom got her a gym membership, and that was how and it was a 3-month gym membership. And at this moment, I want to take a really quick moment and do a shout out to Pam and Denny Garner, her mom and stepdad, who drove 12 hours from Louisiana to come and witness her being inducted into the USA Powerlifting Women's Hall of Fame. So we're limited on time, so I'm going to try and keep this short but touch the high points. So Jen got the gym membership. She found out she really liked lifting big, heavy weight. And then she went to Louisiana Tech. And at Louisiana Tech during freshman orientation, she met a young man by the name of Calvin Dial. And he was on his way to the Louisiana Tech Powerlifting Club. They have a powerlifting club? Oh my, I'm going to come with you. So she met Dr. Billy Jack Talton. For those of you that may not be aware, our Coach of the Year award is named in honor of Dr. Billy Jack Talton of Louisiana Tech. So she was with a storied, historic, very legendary group of people. She lifted with them and ended up actually qualifying for the very first ever IPF Junior Women's World Championship. Now, they did not have them in weight classes. They lifted in lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight. And it was in Australia. So that was quite a long distance. There was, 23 lifters altogether? It was not very many. But it was the first ever. That was 1992. 1992 was her first ever. And that was when the IPF was just starting to introduce that. So Jen went through powerlifting. She did graduate. 5 years later, Dr. Billy Jack Talton honored her by asking her, the first ever of the Louisiana Tech graduates, would you come back and help with coaching? So she came to the 1999 Collegiate Nationals and assisted with the coaching on that. And that was where I did meet J. Ray. And that was really cool. So we moved on from that. But that was the first introduction of moving from a lifter to becoming more. And that was what started Jennifer on that list. So can you take the top page? 2009, we're going to fast forward. Thank you. We're going to fast forward to 2009. Jennifer had been lifting. She was on multiple teams. We had 10 teams that she was on altogether, 10 national championships, 2 world teams. She's lifted as a junior, an open, and a master on the world level. So she is quite an accomplished lifter. But 2009, may I share? 2009 was a big year for her. In May, she was diagnosed with cancer. 3 weeks later, she competed at the World Bench Press Championship in Luxembourg and won. Then she came back. She had surgery. Then she started her chemo. Then she did her radiation. Then you know what she did in August and September? She did bench press nationals. Okay, let me do that timeline again. May, diagnosis. May, compete. Surgery, the beginning of June. Chemo, radiation. And then in September, she competed at bench nationals in Charlotte. Jennifer Thompson was the meet director for that bench press nationals. From there, things got better, a whole lot better. 2010 rolls around. Jennifer now, she qualifies and competes at the Arnold. So she competes at the Arnold. It's been less than a year. It's been less than 10 months since the cancer diagnosis. Then in May, she competes at the Women's Nationals and wins the gold medal. That earns her a spot on our world team, and she goes to South Africa. So in 2009, at the depths, 2010 was quite the recovery, quite the victory. So for a year and a half, it was quite the roller coaster. But the thing that was consistent in all of it was the powerlifting, and Jennifer kept doing that. I did ask Jennifer once, was there any significant moment during all of her years? And she said yes. Ladies, you might enjoy this story as much as I did. A male colleague, she is a teacher, a male colleague came up and asked her, you really put in a lot of time into that hobby, that thing called powerlifting. And Jennifer's response to him was, and I have to quote because I think that this is just so beautiful. Powerlifting is woven into the fabric of who I am as a person. Powerlifting is not a hobby. Powerlifting is an amazing and it's the best sport in the world, and it's given me so much. I can't imagine not doing it. She said she's made lifelong friends through powerlifting in collegiate years, the IPF, and so on like that. Who has influenced her? Thank you. Who has influenced her over the years? That would be Dr. Billy Jack Talton and also her husband, Dan Gaudreau. The two of them, between the two of them, they have opened doors and brought her to more and more places. Jen has served USA Powerlifting as a meet director. She's an IPF international referee. She's been a coach, a world team manager. She's the co-state chair for Colorado. She and her husband mentor many people in their personal gym, and they continue to do a whole lot. She is also an athlete's rep at this time. She was one of the strong advocates for the youth program, and she's introduced so many to the sport of powerlifting. What would she like to be most remembered for? As someone who has given back to the sport as much as the sport has given to me. And then her words of wisdom for all of the female powerlifters. It's good to have goals, but the goal doesn't always have to include the world champion. In fact, you don't always have to achieve gold medal status or be a world champion to make an impact in the sport. Let your goals include have fun, make memories, make friendships, and let powerlifting help you enjoy physical and mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Ray Gaudreau.
I finally get to use my college degree, mass communications. Maybe the post office qualifies. Anyway, USA Powerlifting Women's Hall of Fame member Jennifer Ray Gaudreau, inducted 2021 in recognition for your achievement as a powerlifter and as a pioneer in paving the path for future women powerlifters. And I still remember the first time I saw you on the platform. I think it was in 2005 in St. Louis. I had been retired for 5 years, and I volunteered to go out and referee. And she was this teenager, and she did all her lifts with such speed and power, and I was incredibly impressed.
And with this, again, the Women's Hall of Fame jacket, sponsored by Kathy Marksteiner.
Okay, and we have the official Women's Hall of Fame belt. Thank you to Titan Support Systems. And even though you're Gaudreau, you're always J. Ray to us.
And let's get you two up front together for pictures. And again, ladies and gentlemen, your 2020 and your 2021 Women's Hall of Fame inductees. And also standing behind me, he has joined us, is Johnny Graham, who is also inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame for contributing to the growth of women's powerlifting in the sport. Thanks for coming up, Johnny. And again, thank you everybody for staying and watching the induction ceremony, and we're going to go now into awards.